Hi. Um, I wanted to give a few notes for week 2. So the first thing is to notice on Foxtail that you have this video note, obviously, Writing in College Chapter 2. You have your grammar check, an APA activity, and a discussion forum number 2, which will include your rough draft for your writing assignment number 1. So your actual final writing assignment number 1 is not due until the end of week 3. So we're still going to do another round of discussion forum posts using your rough draft to get peer review feedback. And I will also be engaging in and checking in. A couple things to keep in mind with the forum posts is I have some questions to consider when offering peer review feedback, because response posts are looking a little skim. I see, oh, great ideas, love your thesis, can't wait to read it. That's not classroom participation. So online class forums take place of classroom participation. So since we are an online class, I need you, when you're in your 2 response forum posts, to go further, deeper. So when you say, I really like what you had to say, well, what did you like to have to say? Was it specifically their thesis, and why? What comes to mind? So taking a piece of your peers' information and extending that. So if you didn't agree with it, maybe why, questions you might have, things of that nature to extend your forum response post. So this week I gave everyone credit for doing their outline, and I gave credit for a full forum post, response post, the full 5 points. If you did not receive the 35-point credit, it's because your response posts weren't in depth. It was just like, I really like what you had to say, can't wait to read it. The end. We need more than that. So if you have questions on if your response posts are sufficient enough, feel free to email me, check in. I'm happy to discuss that with you. Okay, so moving into thesis, as I was looking through, thesis and audience go hand in hand. Audience analysis needs to be focused and specific. I've seen some audience where, you wrote a sentence and it said, for anyone who's interested in reading labels. That's huge. How can you form a thesis statement on something that big? So we want to narrow that scope. Are you, I have a student who's writing about, his audience is for moms or parents with toddlers that are starting to really take interest in what food is going into their child's body. There are some students who are taking the opposition, right? Saying that, like, going against popular belief. There's good use of GMOs for third world countries. Well, that's not going to be the everyday shopper, right? If their focus is specifically on the positive effects GMOs have on third world countries. So who needs to hear that? So when you just say, oh, my audience is broad, it could be 20 to 50-year-old, it could be for anybody, well, then your focus is huge. So we need to narrow that focus. It doesn't mean that other people can't benefit from it. It's just meaning you're targeting a specific group. So then your language and your word choice is going to reflect that. And you're able to kind of take you could kind of like funnel your writing. So that's more of what I'm looking for. On Foxtail, I've posted a student's, what do you call it? Sample that I like the person's outline. The audience analysis still needs to be buffed up, and I'm going to let that person know that it needs to be more specific. But the outline piece, where like the thesis is very solid, because that's going into my next point, that the thesis needs to be specific and offer a perspective that's personal, your perspective. So if you just say that GMOs help third world countries, that's a statement. But to make a thesis statement, you need a main idea and a controlling idea. So this idea of a thesis is you have a statement and then it's your personal perspective on it. So my response would be, well, why? Why are GMOs great or beneficial to third world countries? Well, because it offers food year round to countries that might not have the weather to support, corn or something like that, right? That's specific, and that's just one perspective, one aspect of how GMOs can benefit third world countries. And if you ask somebody else, they might say something different. So that's where the thesis is your own. You've owned it because that's your personal take. So if you want to look towards the text, chapter 3, look ahead, it talks about building blocks for a thesis statement. It's like this idea of a trilogy. You've got the statement, you've got your reasoning, and then the ramifications. And it's kind of nice because it reflects into your conclusion. So if you feel a little lost or still unsure, read ahead and look at chapter 3, because that will help you greatly form your thesis. And then you'll notice that once you have a solid thesis, your topic sentences kind of flow behind as you're trying to figure out, well, how can I defend this statement? There could be like 12 different ways you could defend it, but which ones are you going to handpick that connects with your audience, right? So if your audience is parents with toddlers, right, you might want to focus more on case studies or some simple research that relates to labels. Maybe not get into so many, engineering statistics or data. So what information to support your audience? What information would relate to your audience that they can kind of understand your perspective? Your goal is not to convince them to follow you. It's just to open their eyes to a different perspective, to your perspective, and kind of understand where you're coming from, so that in the future, if they deal with the situation or are confronted with labels or whatever the case may be, that they think about, oh, well, I remember reading this, maybe I should look into it some more, or maybe I should investigate on my own. So that is something that I would like to see in your thesis moving forward, is this building block, this trilogy. So again, read ahead to chapter 3, and that would be very helpful in how to create a thesis. So let's see what else. Forum post. So again, forum post for week 2, forum post number 2 is where you're going to upload your rough draft. Now, something that I want you to keep in mind is, when I asked on your outline, is what question would my audience have with this? You want to create a paragraph. Typically, it's like the 4th body paragraph, where you want to address your opposition and say, I understand that you might have some concerns about modified, GMOs and the costs that is more beneficial to your checking account. However, studies have shown that over time, you're actually saving money because you are, long-term healthcare or something like that. You want to address what their concerns are and then debunk it with some evidence. So that would be a body paragraph number 4. If you have questions, email me, please. But so I wanted to make a comment on that. Now, going back to our thesis, if you're having a hard time kind of narrowing your scope, narrowing your focus, email me. We can kind of work together, and we can do a phone call, we can do a video chat, we can do email. But a strategy, which I do in my face-to-face class, we did on Monday night, is just kind of put up, well, we're already past GMO. So, you have say you want to talk about food labels. Well, what are all the different areas? Just start writing them out. It doesn't even have to make sense. Just write out all the different aspects of food labels that you could talk about. And then highlight like 3 of them that are the most interesting to you. And then again, be like, okay, what out of these 3, let's read a little bit. What's the most interesting out of these 3? Is it, you know, the fat content? Is it, is it maybe the company labels? What is it about labels that are intriguing you, that you have questions on? And so if you can pick one of those three, then write a question, something that you are inquiring about. It could be, you know, who creates these food labels? Who verifies that they're non-GMO or GMO type labels? What's the process look like? Whatever you decide your question is that you want to inquire, that's going to be your focus, and you're going to go research that. And as you research, maybe your question changes, but it needs to be specific, because then once you have your question that you're inquiring about and you've researched, your answer to your question is your thesis. And then, so that's like your statement, right? And then your reasoning connected to it is going to be your fully developed thesis statement. So again, if you have questions about that, please email me, or let's connect on it, and we can kind of brainstorm what that looks like. So like I said, we're going to, I have a couple examples, student examples posted up so you can kind of get an idea of what a thesis statement looks like. Again, also read ahead and look at chapter 3. And if you have questions, please connect with me. Remember, main idea is the statement, you know, GMOs are harmful. But to make a thesis statement, you need a main idea and a controlling idea. So GMOs are harmful because it causes long-term back issues, right? Which then can lead to, you know, years of rehabilitation that will cost you time, money, and, you know, create a financially unstable future, right? It seems like a lot, but it's that building block, the 3 pieces that you need. So, so have a great week, and please contact me. Sorry, there's so many stops on here. I have my kids coming in and out. So we'll be in touch, and I will create a new video for next week. I hope these are helpful. If you have questions, also email me about anything that's unclear. I'm here all week. Okay, have a good evening.